Good evening, everybody, and thank you for checking out my organizational tip. I'm Ricky Porter, and today we're going to be talking about the shift, creating the culture that your team deserves. Some learning objectives we have for today is to recognize and address common cultural issues in the workplace and engage in the Culture Shift Challenge to develop effective solutions. Scrolling the other day on Facebook, and this popped up, and it spoke to me so broadly because it is completely true. It says your company culture is not words on your website or posters on the wall. It's how your people feel on a Sunday night. None of us want to work in an organization where we dread getting up the next day and going to work. I try to create a culture in my workplace where people have fun, we engage with each other, we know one another, and we merge really well. And that's why this project is kind of a passion of mine. I want to give you an introduction to some topics and some things that I found. And as we go through this, you're going to use those principles with the worksheet of the topics we're going to talk about and apply it in an exercise. So the first question we have asked is, what is workplace culture? Now, I did have to skip ahead in our readings because this is one of the first presentations, and workplace culture isn't addressed until chapter 13 in our Anderson book, but here's what Anderson says. Anderson states that workplace culture, or culture, can refer to a wide variety of behaviors, actions, meanings, and symbols in organizations. Anderson also goes on to state that elements of culture can be visible, such as styles of dress, office spaces, language choices, and can be also invisible or hidden, such as the organization's values, ethics, beliefs, and preferences. Now, when conducting research for this project, I wanted to look at things more than just our books and things that we're referring to in class, so I started searching the internet for ways that we can look at culture change. And what I did find was the Josh Bersin Company is an organization that's focused on helping companies change the culture that they have. And they provided a cultural framework consideration sheet that we're going to use in our exercise. Now, looking at this, that gives us 7 areas to focus on, which includes growth mindset, purpose, communication, support, collaboration, appreciation, and well-being. So let's dive into each of these briefly. Now, when understanding how to use the growth mindset, we have to understand that we have to embrace it as we move forward. Some of the ways we can do this is by understanding that challenges should be seen as opportunities for personal growth. We should also grow a mindset that encourages us to understand that resilience and perseverance are going to come through the problems that we're facing. And also, timely feedback and personalized learning to those that are involved help enhance the development of things like programs or changes or anything that might come about. When looking at purpose involved in the workplace, things we need to consider are our ethics, our values, our morals, things such as our mission, our vision statement, our values. They're going to foster a strong culture at the workplace as long as what we say is what we do. We have to stick to those values. We have to let the employees know what we stand for and why we stand for that and not waver on that. We also have to give our employees a clear purpose to help drive their motivation and engagement. So making clear statements, making statements of intention and why we're doing what we're doing is going to help them understand a lot more. Also, being not so rigid but a little bit more flexible in what we do helps tremendously. Me, for example, I have a team that works with me, and we work very crazy hours because we oversee all of the events in our county that we serve. Sometimes this means we work late, sometimes this means we come in early. So being flexible and allowing them to flex that time, literally flex the time out, instead of having to work mandatory overtime, has improved morale tremendously with my team. That's just one example that I can give you specifically for being flexible in the workplace. When discussing communication, we have to understand that communication in any form is probably the most critical step to making progress with anything. We have to enhance our communication in our workplaces, and sometimes this involves understanding that our learners learn in different methods. Some people might be hands-on, some people might be able to take just instruction, some people might need you to show them how to do something. No matter what the change is, we have to be able to establish multiple tracks of communication, diverse communication pathways that cater to the needs of the employee. Also, we might have to utilize multiple channels for effective information dissemination. We've all heard the telephone game where you whisper in one person's ear something and they whisper it around the room and it changes. That's because we all interpret things differently. So you might have employees that don't understand things because they heard it from so-and-so, but if you can send it out in a direct email, or if you can have a one-on-one conversation, you might have to utilize different methods to get the message or the change that's wanted across to the appropriate people. And finally, our leaders have to be able to Understand that we have to have transparent and authentic, honest conversations. The employees need to be able to hear what we're saying, why we're saying it, and it needs to be passed down effectively amongst the individuals involved. When it comes to collaboration, we have to cultivate areas and support in different ways with the relationships that our employees have with one another, with their senior leadership, and with their human resource directors. We have to have a mutual understanding amongst us that's going to help us foster stronger interpersonal connections. We have to build trust amongst our employees. It's essential for any type of long-lasting relationship. Think back to any friends you have. If you couldn't trust your friend or couldn't trust your spouse, you wouldn't be with them. It's no different with employees. If they cannot trust the people that are leading them or they're making change in their organizations, they're not going to stay with you. So we have to foster that trust. Also, we have to develop routines that help others strengthen the community bonds. So by having regular meetings or by having regular buy-in sessions where we explain to our employees why we're doing what we're doing, we have to develop those types of routines and be consistent with them so that we help strengthen the bonds between our employees. Appreciation is so much more than just telling somebody thank you. To some people, they thrive off of that. Some people, it's their love language. For me, I would rather be told any day of the week that I'm appreciated or somebody is grateful and have some meaningful conversation attached to that than to be given anything. Money, lunch, anything. Some people's love languages are founded around appreciation, so we have to be conscious of those. This could be recognition that we give to an employee based upon their performance. It's going to boost their morale. We can give them formal praise, whether it's a written memorandum or a letter of appreciation from someone higher. They love that. We have to find meaningful rewards for each of these employees because they're more than just a pat on the back. When you say, I really appreciate you doing X, Y, Z, it shows the employee that you've paid attention to the things they're doing. So meaningful rewards are going to significantly enhance their job satisfaction and their performance. We have to also remember to be consistent with this. It shouldn't just be a one-off, once a month we get together and have a thank you. You should be telling your employees daily that you appreciate them and show that constant appreciation with them. And we also have to understand that tailoring the rewards or the thanks to individuals is going to go so much further than generality statements. So if you have an employee that likes to knit and you know that they're coming up as employee of the month or something like that, maybe putting together a care package with some yarn and maybe some needles or something. I don't knit, so I don't know. But finding something that relates to them, taking the time and effort to pour into their hobbies and find something they like and get them a small gift like that, that's going to mean more to them than a letter or anything like that because it shows you took time to learn about your employees. So we have to appreciate them in the ways that fit best with them. So everyone who comes to work wants to feel like they're being supported by their peers, by their supervisors, by the people who have helped develop their organization. So we have to consider some things that help foster well-being and belonging within the community. Google does a great job with this. They provide areas for their employees to take rest breaks. They provide food. They provide childcare to their employees. Not every business is able to do that, but we can find ways similar to do that. We have to implement strategies that help the well-being of the employee overall and helps improve their satisfaction. We have to create an environment that helps foster that sense of belonging amongst our team members. Team building is a great thing to do. We have, in my organization, we have meetings every Monday. We have meetings at the beginning of every day. And in those meetings, it's not all business. We share some things that are going on in our lives, or we might share some cool upcoming things that we have going on. We have to create an environment where people look forward to coming to work. The biggest factor in all of that is open communication. So as we communicate openly and we share not only work, but maybe some personal stuff with one another, obviously within the boundaries of human resources, we don't want to step outside of those, but we have to build those relationships that help show that we support each other and that helps boost morale. Activities like luncheons or informal meetings, game days, team activities, those help strengthen those connections and build trust amongst your team. And if we take the time to recognize the individual contributions of everyone on our team, it helps them feel like they have more of a sense of belonging. It creates a community within our organization. So, we've talked about 7 areas very briefly, and we're going to go right into the work part of it. How are we supposed to remember all this stuff? What are we supposed to do? It's not a problem. I'm going to give you a handout with that first image that we showed early on in this presentation. That's going to be a reference point for you. What we're going to do is we're going to conduct a practical exercise I call the Culture Shift Challenge. And what we're going to do in this exercise is separate into 4 separate groups to address 4 completely different problems, all centered around workplace culture. There's 3 questions with each problem that I'm going to have your group answer. And as you explore to find the root cause of this problem, I want you to look at things that are more than just face value. So if communication is a problem, I want you to explore things like how high up is communication an issue? How can we fix it? And I want you to bring actionable solutions back to the group discussion at the end. Now you're going to branch off into equal groups, 4 different breakaway groups on Zoom, and we're going to use Google Whiteboard so that we can see each other's sticky notes as we're completing our tasks. I want you to answer those questions. I want you to look deep into the problems, and I want you to bring back to the group solutions not only specific for that, but be ready to talk about other issues from other groups and some solutions that might cross those boundaries. So as we separate into our groups, I will facilitate the conversation, so I may drop into your group and talk with you for a few minutes or make sure the conversation's moving in the right direction. Feel free to use Anderson's book or any of the readings we have so far, or if you want to find something that is scholarly online and bring it back to the classroom, bring those notes and let's reference those. Let's dig into the Culture Shift Challenge. I know you can do it. I look forward to hearing the answers and hope to hear from you guys soon.